Good morning, Guardians. I'm Arch Burgundy, and today's top story, Fourth Encounter Verity Guide. I will cover details later, but I'm going to get straight into it on what you're supposed to do. Off the rip, we're going inside. The first thing I'm doing here is looking left to right at the three symbols. So I see it's circle, triangle, square. I'm typing it in chat, and I'm letting my teammates know. I have now identified that my statue is on the right and I'm holding a square. This is all you need to know. This just means that I am now going to kill knights, and if they drop a shape that is not my shape, either a circle or a triangle, I am then going to give it to that respective statue. This is called getting doubled up. If you come in here doubled up, you're going to tell your teammates you're doubled up. So I'm going to pick up this circle. I'm going to give it to the circle statue. Now at this point, my teammates have done their side correctly, and this is what is called doubled up. I have two squares. You could come into the room like this, and at that point you're waiting for your other two teammates to just confirm they're doubled up. The reason for this is so that you do not start sending your shapes out early, which I'll cover later. I'm now going to kill my knights, pick up my symbol, which was a square, and start giving it to the statues. I'm going to go left to right. And I'm actually going to make a mistake here, and I'm going to do this on purpose because this is exactly what's going to happen when someone makes a mistake. They're going to kill this knight, it's going to drop a symbol, and they're just going to blindly pick it up. Because at this point, you're assuming I had two squares, so why would I need to check my symbols? But somebody has already started trading you symbols. So what's going to happen here is he's actually going to drop a triangle, and I'm going to pick it up so fast because I'm rushing, because the witness is going to take me, which I'll cover later. But you're trying to beat the clock and you make the wrong call. You can see on the left side of my screen that it says trigon, which means I did not pick up a square. So if I were to give this triangle back to this person, they would just be utterly confused and be like, well, I sent both my shapes out, yada yada. Everyone gets confused. People start self-doubting themselves. If this happens, I didn't even tell my teammates that I did this. I'm going to correct this when I come back into the room. Now, just a brief overview of this ghost part while it happens. All this person's doing is picking up my ghost, which is called Izanagi's ghost. And when they say that, they go, I have Izanagi's ghost. I'm saying Izanagi's ghost is Prismatic Hunter because I'm the only one with the exotic class item. My teammates that are also dead are doing the same thing. And essentially, I'm calling out what I see who's dead. Now, I saw the fourth statue. Someone else saw the fourth statue. So this was super confusing because the other person who's dead is not making the right call here. But it was weird that two people could only see the same statue. Now that he's dead, this guy knows that this is where I go. So he's going to deposit me. I'm going to come back into my room. I'm still holding my triangle, but I still need to send a square to middle. That was my whole objective, was to give two squares out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cleanse myself. I'm going to pick up whatever shape drops next. I now have a 3D shape. I'm going to deposit it on any statue that isn't mine, and I've just cleansed myself. Nothing's happened. Nobody got any shapes. I didn't do anything wrong. I've like reset the board basically, right? So there's still a square. I sent one out on left. I need to send one out in middle. He drops a square. I'm going to put it in middle, and everything is going to be okay. Everything is going to work itself out, right? I now have a circle and a triangle. This means that my teammates did exactly what I did, but with their respective shapes. So now, so I can leave this encounter, I pick up a triangle, kill an ogre, pick up a square, pick up a circle, and then I walk out the back door. Now, I'm going to do it one more time, except this time I'm not going to mess up. This is going to happen in an instant. You're just going to get teleported in. Follow these steps and you'll be successful. Immediately I'm in middle. I'm holding a square, so this one was a little bit easier. The call out is circle, square, triangle. Someone's going to put it in chat. I haven't even looked at my back wall, if you notice, because it doesn't even matter, right? I kill a knight, he drops a square. I don't need that. I need triangle, and I'm going to give him a triangle. I did notice I wasn't doubled up, or else I would have just been killing them for no reason. Now I'm double square. I'm now going to kill my knights. I'm going to pass my symbols out. Once again, I'm going to go left to right here. You can go right to left. Doesn't matter. As long as you get it done. I could have picked that square up, but it's okay. They spawn right back in. I'm going to pick up my square. I've confirmed it's a square. I'm going to give it to the left. Now I'm going to get teleported. I haven't even started my second one yet, so that's something I still have to do when I come back into the room. And I'll explain when you get turned into a ghost and why that happens later when we go through the full run. Someone has picked up my ghost shell, which is Izanagi's. My buddy is Cowboy Hat. I can see he's on 3, and I said, hey, Cowboy Hat is 3. This guy's going to put it in, and someone's going to put mine in, and I'm back in the room. I still had a square when I left the room. Do not get sidetracked. Also, don't start making calls out to other people. You're just going to mess everyone else up. You could do this entire thing silent. He drops a square. I still need to give it to right. I pick it up. I give it to right. And look at that. My back wall is a circle and a triangle. Everything has worked out exactly like I said it would. I now have my final shape. I can pull it, and I can leave this room. Pick up a circle. Pick up a triangle. And I'm going to walk right out of here. Now, I'm going to cover the end phase, and then we're going to go into dissecting. I'll be breaking that one down a lot more as it happens. But for this end phase, right, the same thing. Before you start the raid, or this encounter, I'm sorry, you are going to make sure that everyone has a different ghost and some identifying feature. We've got Prismatic Hunter, we've got Conehead, we've got Cowboy, we had Cat Face. Now, I'm the first person to make the call here to my buddy, and I said, hey, Cowboy Hat is 2. He's gonna walk over to Cowboy Hat. It doesn't even matter what his ghost looks like at this point. You can literally see the Guardian, and he's gonna put him on 2. Someone else is gonna make a call out here that Conehead is 4, sorry. And he's gonna put him on 4. Call outs are being made. I didn't want to include the comms in this for a reason, because they were pretty chaotic, and I didn't like how clean it was. When we do over the final run, you'll see people make mistakes. That's okay. There's still ways to recover, but ideally, a smooth run would be the lowest minimum comms as possible. This time I'm going to be outside, which means I'm dissecting. Some people make this an overly complex process, but if you follow these simple steps, you'll do it every single time. First thing you need is the call out from inside, which is going to be circle, triangle, square. Now, that's what they see on the inside. You can't see that on the outside. All that means for me is I'm going to start working left to right. This is going to be very simple. If the left is a circle, there needs to not be a circle on left. You need to replace it with the 2 opposite shapes. So I'm going to start killing knights because I don't even care about middle or right now. I'm going to kill this knight. He drops a circle. I got lucky. I pick up the circle. Now when I look at this statue, it's a cone. If I'm taking a circle out of here and there's a triangle already there, I need the other shape, which is a square. So I'm going to put circle in the statue. That's going to put it in the trade space. Kill this knight. He drops a triangle. I don't need that. I need the square. I kill this knight. He drops a square. I'm going to head over to this right statue. The call it was circle, triangle, square. There's 2 squares here. That doesn't even really matter, but the squares need to come out. So I'm instantly going to put that square over on left by trading it with the one on right. Now left is done. Left is a triangle and a square. There's no circles in there whatsoever. It's the opposite 2 shapes. I'm going to pick up this triangle because that's the only shape that's left to pick up. Now I know middle is triangle. There needs to not be any triangles. So I'm going to deposit it in middle, and we're going to have to replace this with a square when we get the next set of knights. And I'm not even, like I said, I'm not even focused on right here. I'm just focused on going the left one first. So if I know the middle one needs a square, I have a square. There's still a square on right, and I'm going to trade it with the one in middle, and I'm done. I'm literally done. Less than 30 seconds. If you just focus on doing left to right, eventually all of them are just going to line up perfectly. There's only 6 shapes here. You can't have more than 6 shapes. Like, you can't have 4 triangles, you can't have 4 squares. Like, don't overthink it. It's a very simple process. This next part I call collecting ghosts. what's going to happen here is I'm going to identify the ghost that I'm picking up. This ghost specifically is the raid ghost. It's the one from this raid. I know that. And essentially, I know that the person whose ghost this is a cowboy hat. But if you didn't know who it is, you would say, you know, hey, I have this raid's ghost. That person would say, that's me, I'm cowboy. So I know I have cowboy. And then from there, after you pick up the ghost, you head back to the front of the statues. The people who are dead can see what statues these are. So while this is happening, someone is telling me right now that, hey, the cowboy hat is on 4. You don't need to use names. You don't need to use gamer tags, whatever it is. You just have to pick a ghost that people understand what this ghost is and like come up with a name for it. And then you need to come up with a name for each guardian of some identifying feature, which is why you see people have like goofy heads. Like this guy on the right has the callus head. Essentially, someone calls out here, Cowboys 4. I'm going to deposit it and I'm done. And you basically repeat that 3 times. Each person picks up a ghost. All right, the final run. This is going to be a full run. I'm going to answer the whys, the whos, the whats, because I know people probably still have questions. But to be completely honest with you, if you do everything that I just showed you, you will pass this encounter. Like, you don't need to know why everything is happening, but I'll still explain it. So basically, what's going on here is the people who go inside, right? The reason why you have to trade a shape to the person whose shape corresponds to them, right? So if I'm a square and I'm holding a square and I have a circle in my room, the reason I'm giving that person a circle is because 6 total trades need to happen in order for the witness to, you know, notice you moving shapes. Now, the significance of this is that it turns you into ghosts, and that's when you have to get picked up and put back onto your statue. So if you don't do this, like if you're like, well, if I just need a square to get my final shape and I have a triangle, why doesn't somebody just trade me a square and then I'll trade my circle away? Well, because if you don't come in like doubled up, which wouldn't matter anyway, because, right, like why can't I just make one trade? That's because even if everyone made one trade, you wouldn't get turned into ghosts, and therefore you would never be able to walk out of the back wall. This is called the LFG strat, but to be completely like transparent, I think that's BS. Like, there's no point in just randomly trading symbols back and forth, you know, until you get your final shape. This is just easier because once you have 2 of your own shape, you know that both other people need 1 of your shape. So you're essentially just forcing 6 trades to happen. You get turned into ghosts, and by the end of it, everyone has their final shape. I don't like it being called the LFG strat. Like, I haven't seen anyone come up with a better strat, because if you have people on the inside just randomly calling things out, like I need this, I need that, that just means that like someone's gonna get messed up. People are gonna get confused, like, oh, I just gave you a square, why do you keep asking me for one? This is why I said like no comms is basically the best comms at this point. Like, you don't need to talk. It actually just makes it more hectic, and what you're doing is you're confusing other people. Like, imagine if I just traded you 2 squares and someone's like, I don't have my square, and you're like, well, I just gave it to you. What probably happened is what I showed earlier, where people constantly make this mistake and they either don't even know they're making it, or they just don't own up to it for whatever reason. They're killing a knight and they're not picking up the right shape. Maybe they came back in the room and they're like, oh, I already killed my, you know, 2 knights. You know, I've seen when people have 3 shapes, that means you're holding on to one, which means you didn't do a trade. So whenever I hear someone say, oh, you know, I only have I have 3, what's going on here? It's like, did you finish doing your trade when you came back in your room? People get so ADHD sidetracked in a matter of like seconds. Like, you need to stay focused on the main objective, which is you're going to trade your symbols away, or I'm sorry, you're going to trade the symbols away that aren't yours. You're going to make sure you have 2 of your own, which is not up to your control, right? You're relying on the other people doing their job. And then essentially when you all confirm you're doubled up, you're going to pass it out. If you do your job, if you keep your head down, right, and you do what you're supposed to do and everyone else does, you'll just pass this encounter. I've said this like a million times, the groups that I play with, nobody seems to care. Do not stare at your back wall. Please, for the love of God, do not stare at your back wall. You know what your job is, just do it. The back wall isn't going to change anything. Like, it's not going to dramatically just give you your final shape. Shapes aren't going to start randomly appearing. Just do your job and do it like as fast as you possibly can, and you'll get through this. You have plenty of time to do this. So I've covered the inside. I've covered, right, so once you do 6 trades, that's when the guardians on the inside get turned into ghosts. So that's when that's going to happen. If you were all doubled up and you all made 2 trades, right, you would technically all come back in and just have your final shape ready to go. If you all had 2 opposite shapes, right, you would basically get doubled up and then you would get turned into ghosts. Or if you only have to do all of 1 trade, then basically you would all do 1, and then as you all start passing out one of your own shape, that would hit 6 and you would get teleported in the middle, which is what happened to me earlier, right? Like, consistently I was giving 1 away and I was getting teleported in between my 2 shapes. So that's how you know, like, when you're going to get teleported, if you have a good idea of like what everyone else is doing. The last part, right, bringing guardians to their statues. You need to make sure before you start this that everyone is on the same page of like, what is the identifying feature here? Like, the only reason I got to rock basically like the prismatic hunter title, even though we're literally 6 hunters in this instance, is because no one else was using the exotic class item. So we all, you know, I put the ornament on it to like stand out, and everybody knew that my shell was Izanagi shell. People were already calling it like basic ghost shell. And I was like, it literally looks like Izanagi, so like I should have just changed mine because there was confusion. But I also think that some people should just be able to like recognize a ghost shell. Don't pick a ghost shell based on colors, because if you're colorblind, like I run colorblind settings, it doesn't help me. People are like, oh, I've got the arc shell, and I'm like, I see a void shell, and like I don't know if someone. And then we actually had a guy who had like a weird ghost shell that was like staticky, and that was like, they're calling that static, but that looked like arc too. Like, don't make these, there's just no need. Like, what are you holding on to your ghost for what, 10 minutes? Please don't be like stubborn about this. It's just stupid. Don't pick any feature that relies on like arms or like chest piece. There's people who will do like, oh, you know, I've got furry chest piece, or I've got you know, spiky arms. Like, I don't think that that is like something that's always clearly obvious, especially when people are standing at like certain angles. The helmet is usually like the easiest thing to identify somebody as. Next point is you need to keep comms clear. Like, when you get to the part where people are essentially like needing to say who a guardian is, let one person speak and let one person like make that choice, right? Like, if I'm like, you know, cowboy hat is 2 and that guy hasn't even picked up cowboy hat yet, and you're like, oh, Godzilla is 4 or whatever, like, there's just no need to rush it. Like, clear comms is the most efficient comms, not just telling one person what every single statue is. I've seen one guy run around in a circle because he's like, you tell him the first one and then someone instantly shouts out the second one and he hasn't even picked up the first person. This is like such a stupid mistake. Like, whenever you want comms to be clear, everyone's talking, and then when you need people to talk, no one says anything. Pick a person that you want to go first, or like the way I like to do it is when you have to deposit 5, you just go left to right. Like, whoever can see the most left statue, like 1 or 2, right? They're numbered 1 through 6 going left to right. If I can see 1 and everyone gets turned, I'll be like, 1 is a cowboy. And then this, literally that person deposit it, and then someone's going to be like, 2 is Godzilla, right? I'm just making up names here. Someone then is going to be like, 3 is cat. Someone's going to be like, 4 is prismatic hunter, right? Like, keep comms decisive. Don't just start shouting out over people, because you're just going to confuse the people on the ground. Like, I can't beat this dead horse anymore. Like, if you're talking the most in this encounter, you probably don't understand what's going on, or you don't know what you're doing. I'm gonna be like blatantly obvious here. Every single time I run this and someone is talking too much, like, you'll tell people like, hey, don't look at your back wall, and they get teleported in after being turned into ghost, and they're like, I need a square. Like, don't ever say that. You ever say that to me, I'm just gonna kick you, because that person literally probably might not even be in the room yet. Like, they haven't passed out both of their squares. there's just no need. Like, let people do what their jobs are, and when everybody's jobs are done, if there's a mistake, then you have to figure out what went wrong. But if everyone does their job correctly and they keep their head down, they keep their mouth shut, other than being like, hey, I'm doubled up. And even to be fair, you don't even really need to tell people you're doubled up. It just makes it easier so people don't have to like constantly look at their shape, right? If you know you have 2 squares, most likely the next night you kill, it's going to be a square. Unless, you know, someone is a god and they're like eager edging and like killing things and picking up their things and depositing it. Slow is fast and fast is slow here. This one is actually gonna come down to like a nail biter, because this is exactly what happened. Like, this isn't the best run that I wish that I could have showed people as an example. Let's cover dissecting one more time, because I'm doing it right now. If you get double shapes, right? So you have like 2 squares on left, 2 triangles in middle, and 2 circles on right. The 3D shapes are going to essentially be, you know, a pyramid, a sphere, and a square. Keep doing what I taught you. Like, start with the left one. You're like, all right, let's say left is a square and there needs to be no squares there. So pick up a square, go to the left, put a square in, and then just pick up, you know, triangle or circle, whatever the next is, and then just go switch that out. Once you do that, you can pick up the remaining shape. Let's say it's a circle, go over to the circle side, put a circle there, and then the next set of Nikes that you kill, just pick up the first square you see, and then you're done with left. If all shapes are doubled up on the outside, you have to make a total of 3 swaps. If is anything else, you only have to make 2 swaps. Anything more than that and you're doing something wrong. After you do all your swaps on the outside, try to leave 1 Knight up, like either left, middle, right. Just call it out, be like, hey, leave this 1 Knight up, because you're just going to constantly keep spawning unstops. Do I doubt people's ability to kill unstops? No, not at all. But like, is it annoying and pointless? Yes, 100%. If it happens on accident, don't freak out. Don't ever yell at your teammates. It's like bad team play. Just, you know, try to avoid it where you can. If someone messes up like really early and like you can't recover, just jump in this middle pit and just die, because there's just no point in like waiting for 3 minutes for 2 people to try to figure something out. Just regroup, be like, hey, what happened? You're like, oh, I definitely sent him a square. And it's like, did you send him a square? Like, every time someone says like, I definitely sent something, and then someone's like, well, then why do I have, you know, 2 squares and 2 triangles or whatever, right? Like, someone is not doing something right, and you need to be like making sure that they fully understand this encounter. Running through this like 100 times and getting lucky that basically the person doesn't know what they're doing, it's always on the outside, and you have someone to dissect, it's just not like the way I want to go through this encounter. Because in time, when you start to run it more and more and they get sent in, you're going to realize they have no idea what they're doing. Even people I played with who have like 8, 10, 15 clears, you get to this encounter. I played with a guy who had a day 1 emblem, and I was explaining this encounter with no clears, and he had already cleared it. So somehow this guy literally got the day 1 emblem or 48-hour emblem and had no idea what he was doing. And I just don't see how that like benefits anybody. This encounter is probably the biggest chokehold for most teams, and if done properly, takes less than 10 minutes, or about 10 minutes. So I covered, you know, why do people get turned into ghosts? That's on 6 trades. I covered, you know, how to do like proper comms for when you're in like your final seconds. I explained unstops, right? Like, don't keep forcing unstops. If you're done dissecting on the outside, just leave 1 up. And yeah, if you're on the inside, all you really got to say is, you know, I'm doubled up. And then when you do what you're supposed to do, you'll get your final shape. You'll pull your final shape and you'll walk out the back door. Once everyone's out the back door, 2 unstops are going to spawn, kill them, and then you move into this part. This is basically the end of the video. We literally get this with a second. If you saw that he came out with a second left, that's because one of the guys on the side, like, he was constantly like talking over people. He was like, I need this, I need this. Like, someone wasn't doing their job correctly, or people were just picking up the wrong shapes and depositing it without looking. That is the biggest thing. If I could harp on one last thing before I end this video, look at what shape you're picking up. Do not just blindly pick it up. Know where you're at in the process. Finish the process. that's pretty much it. This actually looks like we're gonna fail, but I promise you we get this with like once. This guy basically makes a guess at the end because no one is confirming who's who, and he gets it right, and we get out of here with 1 second left. Done. This specific one didn't have to be that stressful, but if you stuck around, I hope you enjoyed. I'll try to get better if it wasn't clear. Thank you so much, and have a good day, Guardians. See ya.